Hey, what's going on YouTube? It is GeneralTarheel, your coach of the Charizards, bringing you the APA Season 5 second draft analysis, I guess you could say. Coming into this, it is the weeks 5 through 8 for the next part of APA Season 5 for our second draft. I am basically repeating myself, but for those of you who do not know, I'm currently sitting at 3-1 with a +5 differential. So it's pretty good, but I still wish we went undefeated for the first part. Unfortunately, we did pick up that recent loss versus JustKurt in the last week. Really hope we stayed undefeated, but it was still a close match. We definitely could have won it, I feel like. But from here on out, we're just going to have to try better, make sure we can confirm playoffs, get a busted team for the third draft and everything of the sort. But as of right now, we're going to focus on this draft and the second draft and everything of the sort. Going into this, I definitely knew what I wanted, and that was 1,000,000% I wanted to try out Terrakion. Yes, another busted fighting type like Mega Heracross last draft, but I still never used Terrakion. Every time I wanted to use it, someone actually decided to pick it up pretty early, like first round and stuff like that. But going into this, I knew I wanted Terrakion, and I knew I wanted to save it for second round, because I had 5th overall pick. The draft was randomized again. It was going to be based off of record and stuff originally, but we realized we're drafting this like when we're into the third week. Some people only have 2 games done, only a few third games and stuff are done, so it's like we can't really base it off a record completely. So we just randomized it again, and I got 5th overall. So Terrakion is really good, but I don't think it's 5th overall worthy, and there were a few things still on the board that were pretty busted that I felt like I could have drafted with Terrakion pretty well. So going into that, I was really just deciding, okay, what do I want with an absolute wall breaker like Terrakion? And then I just realized, well, this is still on the board, and I've used it before. It's definitely another wall breaker. It's an insane Pokemon in Draft League, and that is, of course, Landorus T. Very lucky that I came 5th overall. Some people are still trying out new things, of course. Tapu Koko, Celesteela, Zygarde, I'm pretty sure all of those went immediately. Zygarde made one later, I don't remember. But Lando T, if you don't know, amazing offensive ground type as well as defensive bulk, stealth rocker, defogger, support, dual dance, sweeper, everything that you need out of an amazing choice scarfer too. It's already got the base 145 attack stat, so if I can get this with Terrakion with its base 129 attack stat, that's just insane wall breaking. This also is really helpful for Terrakion because Terrakion's able to deal with the ice types that want to deal with Lando T because of its rock and fighting typing. Being able to deal with that is very helpful. And both Terrakion and Lando T, if I were to get both, are very, very insane Z-move users already that I have on my team. I wouldn't really need to draft anything else that can use Z-moves because those two are already gonna most likely be one of my Z-move users every now and then. Or every week, sorry. Lando T I have used in APA Season 3. If you haven't seen that, make sure to check it out. I had it with the Mega Charizard X team. I loved it so much. Just the first week, it picked up all 6 kills. I'm really hoping to use Lando a little bit better. I did use it pretty well in Season 3, I'd say. But that's where I was kind of dying off on Mons a little bit, where it was getting kind of annoying. I went through kind of a rough patch. And I definitely feel like I'm going to be better this time around. I can use Lando T more efficiently. And just abuse this Pokemon's amazing move pool, stats, etc. This thing's an absolute monster if you do not know, and I'm just really looking forward to using it again, and pairing it with Terrakion I feel like is going to be perfect. And when it was coming back up into the draft with Terrakion, it was there, and of course I opted to take it round 2. Wasn't going to risk it lasting another round or anything, even though it's just 4 spots above me. That is 8 picks technically, so I still didn't want to risk it, but picked up Terrakion. I'm happy. I have this absolute monster of a wall breaker. Once again, an amazing Z-move user. Already gives me a good speed tier of 108 and an amazing attack stat of 129 like I mentioned before. Choice band, close combat, and stone edges hit like a truck. If I'm able to just pivot with Lando, get in Terrakion, something's probably just going to drop, which is absolutely insane. If I just bring a choice band set. Another solid choice scarf user like Lando T, and another setup sweeper. Can as well be D-Dance with Swords Dance Rock Polish. Can just be a Swords Dance set because of its amazing 108 speed stat. This thing is just insane. Another insane Z-move user, and even a decent stealth rocker. Even though it's more optimal for Terrakion just to absolutely blow something back, it can definitely be used as a stealth rocker because if it gets access to it. I don't know why I'm trying to get to at this point with it, but Terrakion, very, very insane. I've seen people use this very well, and I'm hoping I can do the same. And already going into this, I have 2 insane wall breakers. I have amazing offense, and I really just wanted to continue that going into my next pick. I really didn't have like any other thing I was looking at. I was just trying to get some busted things that were on the board. That's my idea for this draft. If I see something that's sitting around that shouldn't be there, I'm going to take it, because my eyes are still on playoffs. So if I can get something busted in a tier, or something that's very solid for its tier, or typically will go early and for some reason it's still around, something of the sort, I'm going to take it, because that allows me to not worry about trying to pick it up in the 3rd draft. I can just fill only holes that I need in my 3rd draft, and from there on out, I'm able to just have like the most potential busted team for playoffs, to where I can have an assortment of amazing Pokemon no matter where I go. So knowing that, I see a Pokemon that I've also used before, that I used pretty well in the APA, and that is Greninja. Greninja wasn't picked up yet going into round 3. Typically goes around round 2, round 3, so I was really happy that it wasn't picked up yet. And I just love this Pokemon. Amazing offensive water dark type. Allows me to have an offensive special attacker now to go along with the physical attackers in Lando T and Terrakion. And this thing's just absolutely insane. Only a 103 special attack stat, but it does have the amazing, I believe it's 126 speed. And it is able to have some investment in attack to be a mixed attacker, of course, with Life Orb. This is only Tauren Greninja, of course, not Battle Bond, not Protean. And but still just so amazing. Just be able to run like Life Orb mix, a choice spec set, another amazing EZ user if I really want to because of its amazing coverage, and of course like it stabs and just like Scald, Hydro Pump, or Dark Pulse. But it also has access to things like Gunk Shot, Grass Knot, Low Kick. What are some other things? I'm just gonna go with that for now, otherwise we'll be here for a while. But it's also an amazing hazard stacker because it have toxic spikes and regular spikes, and it's another pivot with U-turn. So not only do I have 2 great stealth rockers already on my team, but I also have an amazing dual spiker, which I was really happy about, and as well as another U-turn user. So I'm already getting amazing pivots with amazing hazards, and this team is already looking solid. Just with these 3 offensive mons right out of the gate, this is very intimidating, and it's absolutely insane, to be completely honest. Having 3 amazing Z-move users as well. I'm really happy with this team so far. It's got amazing speed, already at the 91 mark, the 108 mark, and the 126. It's either 126 or 127, I don't really remember. Or is it 121 with Greninja? I don't care. It's good, okay? That's what I'm getting at here. But, also gives me priority with Water Shuriken and everything of the sort. I've used Greninja, when did it? Was it Season 2? No, it was Season 3. I'm pretty sure it was Season 3 on the same team with Lando. Yeah. Just insane. Greninja's insane. That's all I'm trying to get at. And I'm so happy that I have it on this team because, once again, offensive threats. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I don't really know what else to say at the moment. I'm also trying to get this done pretty quickly because I'm going to have a friend at the train station I need to pick up soon. But from here on out, I was like, okay. I was looking at the Megas. Originally, I thought I'll get Mega Miniature because that's another really fast Pokemon, but it's also a really good pivot. I get Dual Intimidate with Lando T. It's a really solid Electric type, and I was mainly looking at something to help me with Bulky Waters because Lando T, Greninja, they struggle with Bulky Waters. Terrakion can as well, of course, and I was really hoping to be able to patch that weakness by getting a very solid Electric type like Mega Miniature. But then I looked a little bit harder, and I was like, Tangro's already gone, so I don't really know what bulky grass type I'm going to get. I was looking at Roserade, but Roserade's not as necessary because I've already got a solid Spiker and Gren. It's already pretty offensive, everything of the sort, when I get something with a similar special attack stat, but a lot more bulkier. So I decided to pick up Mega Venusaur in round 4. Just another insane Pokemon. Not only is it one of the fattest Megas, if not the fattest, it also gets access to the ability in Thick Fat. Yes, it is fat, really fat. And Thick Fat's helpful because Lando T, of course, 4 times weak to ice. Excuse me. I'm able to have a grass type on this team that's not necessarily super effective weak to another ice type user. So that's very helpful for my team. Mega Venusaur is easily able to deal with water types because most water types will carry the ice type coverage for grass Pokemon and stuff like that, but Thick Fat and the amount of bulk it has just absolutely eats up any Ice Beam coverage, especially if it's not stab or anything. So Mega Venusaur able to just eat up any hits that I need to take for this team is extremely, extremely helpful. Already gets me a very solid Electric Pivot, because my team was pretty electric weak at the moment, with Hidden Power Ice easily covering Lando T and my ground type, and of course the Electric Weakness in Greninja, allowing Mega Venusaur just to eat in and eat those things up so easily. Even though Venusaur and Terrakion are weak to Psychic, I already have a solid ground type, or sorry, not ground type, dark type and Greninja, and just all of that coming together. Mega Venusaur is able to get its health back pretty reliably with Synthesis, as well as Leech Seed and Giga Drain. Very, very hard to take this thing down over time, because it's just able to get health so easily. And of course, its stabs are good, having access to the Giga Drain, like I mentioned. Sludge Bomb, can't even use Energy Ball if it really needs to for some reason for a more offensive set. Gets more access to moves such as Earthquake for coverage against potential Steel types, as well as Poison types. Just being all it needs to be in just a fat grass. It's really solid. I've used it before, and I feel like it's going to pair well with this team, and just being able to get a little bit more bulk with it, especially a very solid Steel type, would make this team already really fat, really offensive, and it's going to bring the team together pretty well. So knowing that, I want to go in and pick up a very solid Steel that was going to pair pretty well with it. And one of the best Steel types in my opinion, that of course is Bronzong. Just once again, look at these 5 that I have. These are all insane picks. These are very, very solid for a draft right now. Bronzong, covering the Psychic weakness by 4 times resist on Mega Venusaur, giving me another ground type immunity to go along with Lando T that allows me to help with Terrakion's weakness. Helps me to deal with my flying weakness and neutral hit on Terrakion, as well as the weakness on Mega Venusaur. Just all of these is so helpful. As well as having potential Heat Proof to go along with the Thick Fat just shows that I have 2 things that are typically weak to fire type moves, once again, able to deal with them more properly than usual. I feel like I said that terribly wrong. To deal with them better than typical Steel and Grass types, I guess, just to say the least. But Bronzong, very bulky Steel type and Psychic, having access to a Stealth Rocks again, giving me a very another solid Stealth Rock user. I basically don't need any other Stealth Rock Pokemon from here on out in this draft. I do end up drafting a few more, but that just happens to be a coincidence, because I already have some of the best Stealth Rockers in Lando T and Bronzong. And then also the potential in Terrakion that I could bring. So, another potential Trick Room setter, even though I have a, just a potential Trick Room setter. Even though I have a lot of speed at the moment, I might be able to patch that later and get some slow offensive Pokemon in the back later in the draft. Trick Room might also be helpful just in case I am facing extremely fast Pokemon, such as Mega Lopunny, such as a Mega Manectric, anything of the sort. Able to deal with them accordingly with Trick Room potentially. Typically runs Gyro Ball for its coverage because it is a very slow Pokemon. Can also be mixed with Flash Cannon and has access to Psychics and Headbutt, etc. Just a very reliable Pokemon, as we all know. Bronzong is one of the best Steel types and an amazing grab for Tier 4. I don't think I grabbed it that early, honestly. Round 5 is pretty good for Bronzong if you do value it correctly, because Steel types are hard to come by, and the very solid ones do go decently early. So I felt like picking up Bronzong now was very important for my team because of how well it fits with Mega Venusaur on a defensive level, as well as with the rest of my Pokemon being able to patch weaknesses and such. But going into the next one, I saw like plenty of things that I wanted, but I was definitely looking at Alomomola at my next pick. And for those of you who know SixftHax or Leo, I talk to him just about every night in call and stuff like that with a group of other people and everything of the sort, whether we're playing Fortnite or whether we're building or drafting for other leagues and such. I was wondering what Leo was going to get next. He said he wasn't that sure. I told him, yeah, I just picked up Bronzong, but now I'm really looking into bulky water, so I'm going to grab Alomomola next. He's like, oh yeah, I like Alomomola, that's a good pick. Comes up to the next day, Leo's turn to draft, and he picks Alomomola. This head-ass totally forgot I told him I was going to draft Alomomola. He was speechless, and he kept telling me he forgot. He felt so bad, but I'm still mad at him. Not that I think Alomomola is like insanely good. I just wanted it for its tier 4 value, so I was able to pick up something better in tier 3. But I was like, it's okay. I'll be able to pick up my Lodic in a tier 2 because I love my Lodic, and being able to draft it on this team once again, it's going to be very strong because I still need a bulky water even though I have an offensive Ingren. You just about always need a bulky water, honestly. But my low deck didn't get sniped, and I'm like, okay. I really didn't want to grab this Pokemon necessarily because I've never been a crazy fan of it, but it is pretty good. And at the very least, it does help around with the entire team, and that was Vaporeon. Grabbing Vaporeon gives me another very solid Ice type check for Lando T. Gives me another switch into waters that might be annoying on my team because I do get the immunity and water absorb. I get a nice Wish Protect Pokemon, so I'm able to wish back into Pokemon if needed, such as Lando T or Bronzong, who don't get that reliable recovery, and I'm able to properly get the HP back into them. Gives access to moves such as Baton Pass, to where I'm properly able to potentially just get Pivot into my Lando T or my Terrakion and Wall Break, or I'm able to get up like an Acid Armor with Vaporeon and able to pass that into like a Calm Mind Bronzong and absolutely be able just to take on the entire team with Bronzong. That would be pretty insane, actually. I just thought of that off the top of my head, and that might be something that you see in the 4 weeks, to be completely honest. But Vaporeon does a very good job of what it does. It's very fat. It's just I would have rather preferred Outlet Momola or Milotic for this team, personally. But I still feel like it would be pretty essential to the team. It's still a good water type nonetheless. But I was kind of looking towards Florges as a potential fairy type for this team. But now I'm definitely not going to be able to pick up Florges because, in my opinion, this is just a water type Florges. I'm not going to bother getting Florges when they do the exact same things. That's pretty pointless to me. So I'm just going to have to look for a fairy elsewhere, and I'll make do with what I can. But, totally fun. But Vaporeon will still do very well. It gets the necessary checks. It's still the bulky water that I need. And I definitely have no complete problem with it, but once again, still mad at Leo for him being stupid. But it's okay. It's Leo. I understand. But going into the next pick, I was looking for a fire type and everything. I was looking at tier 3 and I'm like, why is Arcanine still on the board? This is round 7 and Arcanine still exists. Yes, Crimson Seabat's not in the APA anymore, so that might be why Arcanine's still on the board. But I'm still surprised to see it around. So I was really considering Arcanine, but I was also deciding between Chandelure, because Chandelure gives me another special offensive wall breaker. That's just going to be pretty insane for my team. Gives me a ghost type to stop potential spin and everything. Excuse me. But looking at Arcanine, I just really can't pass that up. Because once again, that's going to be a very solid fire type for a potential playoff team that I typically wouldn't probably get because I value other things in the next draft maybe. So I just decided to go with Arcanine. This also gives me dual Intimidate with Lando T, which is absolutely insane. Just being able to have that and absolutely switch into my Fat and Bronzong, Mega Venusaur, and Vaporeon and need anything from a physical hit if they've already gotten the Intimidate off. Arcanine's also able to be a very offensive Pokemon. I can run Z Sunny Day with it to give it the speed boost as well as the sun getting up and just absolutely wreck everything with the Flare Blitz. Has access to Wild Charge, which is very helpful for its typical answers and bulky waters. Arcanine gives me access to Roar to stop any potential setup, gives me access to Will-O-Wisp to get off some necessary status and half attack stat if needed, along with the Intimidate, which is always helpful. And just a very reliable Pokemon. It's one of the most reliable fire types, I feel like, and being able to grab it on this team is very solid. Once again, this team is already so threatening. I don't know how people aren't looking at this and they're absolutely like terrified because all of these Pokemon are so reliable in what they do, and most of them aren't that one-dimensional. Unlike Vaporeon's a little one-dimensional, I'd say, but apart from that, most of these guys do have options into being bulky or they can be offensive. Like all of them have their capabilities here and a lot of uses. So Arcanine being both offensive and bulky is going to be really help my team, and that dual Intimidate is going to be really helpful for some crazy offensive Pokemon that I might have to face in these 4 weeks to come. So next up, I was kind of hoping to fill in my tier 2 spot since, or my free tier 2, because typically I don't like to go too much below tier 2. If I can afford a tier 2, I'm going to grab one. But there was very limited tier 2s that I felt like were going to be pretty helpful for my team. There were Pokemon like Dugtrio if I wanted to be annoying and trap, but I was like, that's not really that necessary. But then I saw a Pokemon that I've used only for a short time before because it was a brief free agent and everything of the sort on a previous team I had. But an amazing Z user, amazing speed tier, Very solid pivot, can be a wall breaker, can be set up, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna grab it. And that's a Zelf. Zelf for tier 2. I love a Zelf, it's pretty good. It's an absolute insane wall breaker. We were able to stop it when Panther had it versus us with Mega Heracross taking it out. But once again, another solid Stealth Rocker. Even though I really don't need it, it just so happened to be like that. 4 amazing Stealth Rockers on my team so far. Yeah, you heard that right. A Zelf really just here to be a pivot, be a strong Psychic type if needed. Once again, I was really just trying to fill in a very solid tier 2. I don't really think that it was that much of a massive necessity to my team, but it could also, once again, be very helpful for that potential playoff team if I do make it. So, a Zelf with this amazing both physical and special attack and solid speed at 115 is just going to be able to at least weaken a team to where Terrakion or Orlando T can literally just clean up if need be. It does get that potential sweep and nasty plot and everything. So its coverage is insane. It's got the ability and like the explosion set with Stealth Rock, and it can also have taunt and everything. So having a good fast taunt user along to go side with Greninja is very, very helpful. And once again, I'm just loving every Pokemon so far on the team. No problems at all. And luckily this next Pokemon made it back to me. I was kind of a little bit worried, but luckily I'm pretty sure the person was looking at Florges or some other fairy type, but I was able to pick up Comfey. Very happy to pick up Comfey. One main reason is that my only hazard removal so far was Lando T, and at first that wasn't a problem, but once I picked up like Arcanine, that is weak to Stealth Rocks, being like the first one actually weak to Stealth Rocks on my team, and picking up a Zelf that might want to run like a Focus Sash set or something of the sort, I was like, I definitely need another Defogger, and a very solid fairy type such as Comfey, being able to get off that priority draining kiss because of its ability triage. I'm actually surprised I remembered that. Being able to get off the priority against potential like Dragon Sweepers that really want to mess with me and everything of the sort, because Como was picked up, and there was a all Dragon team by Leader Geo again, drafting the Mono-type Dragon. That's also why you're not going to see a Dragon on my draft, because I just didn't get around to adding one on the board because all of them were getting taken. A lot of people took some early too because they saw what Geo was doing, so that's very unfortunate. But Dragon's not too necessary for my team, to be completely honest. I'm not that worried about it. I had a solid one last draft in Dragonite anyways, so as long as I make sure I pick up a second Dragon in the third draft to where I have an option between 2 for playoffs, I'm totally fine with it. Comfey also gives me another Cleric to go along with Vaporeon. Very bulky with Synthesis once again, being able to stall if needed. Having that Calm Mind with Draining Kiss to potentially set up Sweep if they don't have a solid Steel type, as well as just being able to pressure Steel so easily with Lando T, Terrakion, and Arcanine. I felt like Comfey is going to have a very solid chance of just sweeping a team with the Calm Mind Draining Kiss set if I'm able to set it up properly and deal with the potential Steel types on their team. So Comfey, definitely a very sick Pokemon. I haven't actually used it yet, but I've seen people use it to an amazing extent, and I hope to do the same, and hopefully potentially get a sweep in these 4 weeks with the Draining Kiss set, the Calm Mind Draining Kiss. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Going into these last 2 picks, at this point, the schedule was released for the next 4 weeks. I do agree that APA really needs to stop doing this. They keep showing it when there's still like 2 draft picks left, and people do counter draft every now and then, and I'm definitely going to be one of them. Since I know some people do it, I'm definitely going to take part in it. Even though I can only get 2 tier 5s with my tier 5 slot and my remaining 40 points, I'm going to pick up stuff that I feel like helps my team. So looking at a lot of the offensive threats and the people I'm going to face from here on out, in these 4 weeks I'm going to be facing DeathlyiAm, KayCreigh, ItzGator, and Ultraplayer. I was really scared about some of them because I will be facing like a Tapu Koko and some other stuff, so I definitely needed to pick up some necessary checks, and or at least what I can in tier 5, because originally I was looking for like just a very solid low tier sweeper that can fit on my team, but I felt like I needed some necessary bulk to deal with some of these things, because there was offensive Pokemon on these 4 teams that have very good matchups versus me, and it was pretty scary, so I wanted to make sure I can deal with them accordingly later on. So that's why I picked up these next two picks. First off, I got KayCreigh. Very solid, bulky normal type. It's always pretty helpful to get at least some sort of a normal typing to have a solid ghost immunity and everything of the sort. Another stealth rocker in KayCreigh gets the very cool ability in Protean, of course, allowing it to change its typing if necessary. I have the priority in Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak, having a lot of coverage with like elemental moves such as Fire and Thunder Punch and stuff like that. KayCreigh's a very good low tier pick for tier 5, I feel like, and its Bedef bulk is absolutely insane if I run an Assault Vest or if I just decide to run it like a Leftovers Spadef set with coverage and like necessary status moves and everything. So KayCreigh is really just, once again, just a fill-in for the team that I felt like was pretty necessary for the weeks to come. And lastly, I wanted to get a pretty decent check to Tapu Koko, and I actually didn't have an electric type on this team at the moment. Raichu was actually still on the board. I don't even think Raichu was drafted. If it was drafted after me, and I really just didn't pay attention anymore to the draft. But I opted to go with a better check because even though I love Raichu, and it's a very solid electric type, it just doesn't do much to Tapu Koko back. Like, yes, it's a check technically, but like I'm not going to be doing that much back to it, especially if it's a roost set. So I really didn't feel like it would be helping the team so much. So I decided to get one of the designated counters for when it was the first release of Sun and Moon, and that's Togedemaru. Togedemaru is a very interesting Pokemon. Gets me the nice electric immunity, having, you know, just access to like Zip Zap and Nuzzle, of course Iron Head, everything like that. It's a pretty annoying Pokemon. Having access to Poison Jab allows me to help to deal with Tapu Koko. Yes, I'm just basically saying I'm going to bring this first Gator. I don't care. That's pretty given when you see a Togedemaru on the team. So it's whatever. But they're like, you have Mega Venusaur in the back and you have Lando T. Yeah, Hidden Power Ice. And then Flamesy Brave Bird. There, I have no checks to Koko anymore. So it was definitely necessary to pick up Togedemaru for this team, I feel like. And I was like, it's just a fill-in. I'm not too worried about the tier 5s anyways. They're very situational Pokemon for this draft because this entire draft is just so busted. So I'm not really going to be worried about having to rely on some tier 5 some weeks because most of these things will have a decent matchup, whether they're bulky, whether they're offensive. Once again, majority of my team is not one-dimensional, so I'm able to work around that very well in every week when it comes to prep. I really wish Togedemaru got spikes. It doesn't make sense to me how it didn't, but we'll be able to use it hopefully at least decently well. It is another pivot and everything with U-turn, of course, as well. It can also help me with other potential electric types that I might have to face. But that's going to be it for the draft. Make sure to let me know what you think of it. But as for nicknames, I've been watching One Piece as of lately. Quite a few episodes into it, about 150 or so. And so I decided to name these Pokemon all after characters in One Piece. I originally didn't plan on doing it. Once I realized that Terrakion was legitimately Chopper, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. So for my fellow weebs out there, just from the list, starting from Lando all the way down, I have Crocodile, Luffy, Phoebe, Ace, Frankie, I believe his name is. I haven't met him yet, but it was recommended to me to name him Frankie. Usopp, Lucky Roo, Chopper, Nami, Nico Robin, and Kobe for Togedemaru. So that was from there all the way down. So yes, very weeb-like, but like I care. I've had the all Avatar Last Airbender nickname, so I don't really care at this point. But please let me know what you think about down below for the draft. Give me your opinions on the team. I'd really appreciate it. As well as let me think what you think I should draft for the next for tier 3. Or not tier 3, but draft number 3 when it comes to week 8, so I can prepare stuff for playoffs and still make sure I have a reliable team. What would you like to see me draft, and what holes do you think I can fill in? Personally, I think I need to make sure I get a very solid fairy, because I've only had Comfey and Whimsicott. Whimsicott is pretty good, but I still want to think like a potential busted fairy. I think I'm going to get a busted Mega if I can next draft, something of the sort. So just give me opinions on this one and the next one. Let me know what you hope to see for potential sets for this team as well. If you have any fun ones down below, let me know. But that'll be it, guys. Make sure to check out my stuff from the first 4 weeks, and I hope to see you guys for the weeks to come. So that'll be it. Sub, like, share, deuces.